Hi. For those who don't know me yet, I'm Margaret, but people just call me Maggie. This is the third episode of the reading block. In the previous episode, we talked about 3 types of questions that are used in the TOEFL reading test: factual information, negative factual information, and inference. And we also saw a mini simulated reading test section with a text about half the size of texts that are used in the real exam and questions of the types we discussed. If you haven't read it yet, see pages 60 to 69 of the book to find that content. In this episode, we will discuss the organization of the test in more detail, comment on the answers from that mock test, and talk about strategies that can be used to find the answers. If you don't have the book yet, just click on the link to visit the website and order yours.
Let's begin revising the questions. Why are street dusts a better measure of environmental quality than single air, water, and soil? A. Street dusts comprise various pollution sources. B. Street dusts are easier to collect. C. Street dusts have negative impact on humans. D. Street dusts can cause hand-mouth contamination. The correct answer to the first question is A. Street dusts contain various pollution sources in the second paragraph. This is an example of a factual information question, because the text explicitly says that street dust is more suitable as a sample of environmental quality, because it reflects various sources of pollution. Check it out. Street dusts are a more suitable indicator of urban environmental quality than the conventional monitoring of the single air, water, and soil, due to the fact that they reflect pollution from multiple sources. Here we see an example of a very important standard that is followed throughout the entire exam. So better pay attention to it right now. Notice how the question and the correct alternative use different words than those used in the text. Have a look. In the text, more suitable indicator of urban environmental quality. In the question, better measure of environmental quality. In the text, reflect pollution from multiple sources. In the answer, comprise various pollution sources. This is to prevent candidates from finding the answers just by matching the words. We call this paraphrase. Writing the same thing using different words. The problem is that this increases a lot the vocabulary that we need to master to have the best result in the exam. But don't worry, because during the whole course we will work a lot with paraphrasing, and this will greatly increase our vocabulary. And we will get so used to it that it will stop being a problem and become a very useful tool in our academic life. But for now, let's focus on how to answer the questions. One way is to identify the right alternative based on understanding the text, as we saw before. Another strategy is to eliminate incorrect alternatives. Let's see. Alternative B is false, because the text does not say that street dust is easier to collect. Alternatives C and D are true, but do not answer the question, because having a negative impact on humans, C, and causing hand-to-mouth contamination, D, has nothing to do with street dust being a better measure of environmental quality than water, air, and soil. So the correct alternative can only be A.
The second question is an example of that negative factual information question. Do you remember that we said that in this type of question we would find the word not or except in bold capital letters? Then, there it is. Which of the following is not a source of toxic material found in street dust? A. Metallurgy. B. Sanitation. C. Trace metals metalloid. D. Engine fumes. The correct answer is C, trace metals metalloid, because this is not a source of pollution, it is the toxic stuff itself. If we use the elimination method, we will see that A, B, and D appear in the text as sources of toxic material. Again, notice how the question and answer alternatives use different words from the text. In the text, metal industry, municipal waste disposal, vehicle exhaust. In the alternatives, metallurgy, sanitation, engine fumes. The third question is an example of an inference question. As we saw before, in this type of question we will see the words infer, imply, or suggest. In this one we have infer. Remember that these words can also be used in their past tense form, inferred, implied, and suggested, which happens to be the case in this question. What can be inferred from paragraph 3? A. Street dust's contamination does not affect animals. B. Children like the taste of street dusts. C. Children are immune to lead poisoning from street dusts. D. Children are more at risk of lead poisoning in large cities. We already know that the answer is not written directly in the text, so let's read the alternatives to see which one fits better in the text. We found that the best alternative is D, because the text says that large cities have the highest amounts of toxic material in street dust, and also that children are exposed to this material when playing in parks and streets. It is not difficult to deduce that for children who live in big cities, where the concentration of toxin is higher, the risk of poisoning is also higher. It's a matter of logic. But let's see the other alternatives and apply the elimination method. There is no information in the third paragraph mentioning animals, so A is false. It also has nothing on what street dust tastes like, or whether kids like it. B is also false. The last line of the third paragraph actually contradicts alternative C, because it says that lead poisoning in children is associated with street dust, so children are not immune. This method gives us the same result. Alternative D.
This was the third episode of the reading block. We analyzed the responses from the mock reading test mini-section that we saw in the previous episode. We discussed strategies for finding the correct answers and talked about the importance of developing a wide vocabulary, doing paraphrase exercises, because the entire exam is built to prevent words and expressions used in the texts from appearing in the questions and answer alternatives. This doesn't just happen in the reading test. In the listening test too. That's why it's so important for us to practice with mock tests and always be looking for other ways to express the same ideas. In this test of the mini reading session, the following paraphrases appeared. Words used in the text: metal industry, municipal waste disposal, and vehicle exhaust. Words used in alternatives: metallurgy, sanitation, engine fumes. We will practice a lot to get better and better and to have the best result in the exam. Don't miss the next episode of this block. We're going to discuss other types of questions you'll encounter on the TOEFL reading test. So until then, for those who are starting now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.